I have ranted and raved about how much I loathe the new Devil May Cry anime on Netflix on multiple streams, my own and other individuals. And as somebody that is a massive Devil May Cry fan, one of my favorite franchises of all time, I feel uniquely qualified to talk about this. So you know what? This will probably be my only video and last time talking on the subject, but there is information to bring up because the creator has pretty much openly said he hates the fans of the games. Now, I'm paraphrasing and putting words in his mouth, but you'll understand why I say that. So welcome back to Words of Paradise. I'm your host, Leon Idol. And yes, this is from Bounding into Comics. Netflix Devil May Cry producer says his goal was to capture the essence of the series' characters rather than the experience of playing the games. Now, while I do want the essence of the characters to be there, it is a game adaptation that probably should be something of the experience of playing the games. But you know what? Even if you were going to leave that out, because hey, some things don't translate well to other mediums. I mean, I disagree because we've seen other successful video game adaptations in the past. But let's just say you were going to leave that out for your creative reasons. He still didn't get the essence of the characters because every single character from the games, well, mostly Dante and Lady, get completely character assassinated. So we're going to go through this article. Before we do, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. I'm a nerdy news channel. I cover nerdy news nearly every day. And let's find out how Mr. Adi Shankar here, justifies his bastardization of one of the greatest Capcom games of all time. According to producer Adi Shankar, how the fuck you say his name, doesn't even matter. The fact that Netflix Devil May Cry is so wildly off base from its source material is that it's a feature, not a bug, of his creative process. Instead of adapting the experience of the original games, he instead chose to focus on his efforts on the essence of the series' various characters. Now, here's my question to you, Artie. Are you so untalented that you can't do both? I mean, you clearly can't do the characters. You destroy that on every single level, and we will go through how, because some of y'all might not have seen my live streams. Some of y'all might not, that are watching this, might not know what I had to say. So don't worry, I'm going to repeat it. In fact, I may go more in depth at this point, but the fact of the matter is, we definitely couldn't do the essence of the characters. Do you think it could have, tried to adopt the essence of the games as well? Yeah, let's keep going here. By now, most readers, in particular those who actually are established fans of Capcom's demon-flavored character action franchise, yo, sup? That's me, will have caught wind of the tonal disaster that is the new animated adaptation, but in case you haven't, let's just say Shankar's take on Dante's story completely misunderstands its source material. I don't think so. I don't think it misunderstands the source material at all, Spence. I think you're incorrect here. I think that it intentionally goes against it. Now, a misunderstanding would imply that it's an accident, but no. I guarantee you, he understands the source material and actively said, we can't do this because if we do this, I don't get to shove my personal politics in there. I don't get to make the characters the way I want to make them, which are fundamentally different than the established source material. No. This isn't a misunderstanding. This is an intentional bastardization. Now, for what reasoning? Who's to say? Is he trying to make the point of, I'm so good, I can improve upon what all you other people love. In fact, I'm going to completely change things to show my version superior. I mean, that could be it. It could be just because he does have an agenda and a message he wants to shove down our throats, which the show does to an insane degree, starting within the first episode, and it never stops. I know people get tired of hearing wokeness this, wokeness that. Oh, they've shoved ideology into it. I've tried to cut back on covering topics like that because, frankly, for one, it is slowing down, and for another, it just isn't something that, you say it over and over, and it's to varying degrees. At some point, it sort of loses message. It's something that loses its meaning. Just like the word woke has lost its meaning, or the word racist has lost all meaning. When we water this shit down, the message isn't easily spread. However, it is so egregious in Devil May Cry, it has to be talked about. From depicting Dante as an attention-seeking Deadpool light instead of an aloof warrior whose goofiness is the result of him trying to entertain himself while slaughtering wave after wave of cannon fodder, to turning Lady from a genuinely interesting character into a generic, strong female stereotype whose every third word is a swear, to using the concept of hell and demons as a metaphor on America's war on terror. Netflix's Devil May Cry is a textbook example of what happens when someone who only has a surface, aesthetic level understanding of given IP is allowed full creative control over its adaptation to another medium. Let's talk about this paragraph because there is so much to cover in just this alone. Well done, Spence. From depicting Dante as an attention-seeking Deadpool light instead of an aloof warrior whose goofiness is the result of him trying to entertain himself. The first time Dante is introduced in the show, the moment he is introduced, they undercut his character. He comes in, slays a bunch of demons, says his catchphrase jackpot, at a time where it holds no weight, doesn't help in any way, shape, or form, does not add to the moment, and then he goes on a rant about how he tries to come up with funny quips and quirks, but then he failed here, and then he tells the gal he saved, wait, let me try it again, pretend the guy isn't dead yet. Then he shoots the body, and then makes a quip. They make Dante a tryhard. Dante is the opposite. He is so unabashedly cool. Dante is the interpretation of constantly rolling nat 20s, that making him into a wannabe jokester instead of someone who, like Spence says, is naturally that way, because if not for that, he would be bored. Like, Dante is an immense supreme being character. There are very few characters in all of gaming that can actually probably hurt Dante, which is why the stakes in the Devil May Cry games are all about family dynamics and relationships, because Dante is unkillable. He is. So how do you make an unkillable character have stakes? Well, you actually write him very similar to Superman. You make the emotional ties to be something beyond the stakes of death. This show doesn't even attempt that, or if it does attempt it, it doesn't do it with Dante. It does it with Lady, which we'll get to in just a moment, because that's what Spencer goes on to talk about. Turning Lady from a genuinely interesting character into a generic, strong female stereotype. No. Lady was a strong female. I think Spence is wrong here. I get what he's trying to say, and he's correct in his attempt to say it, but I don't think he's saying it with his chest, not saying it with enough force. So, Lady already was a strong female. She was a great strong female character. Fans of the game love Lady. You know what she wasn't, though? Was a girl boss. And that's what they turned her into in this show, a fucking girl boss. And I know that's another overused term, this, that, and the other. Oh, no, Ray's gotta work as a girl boss. Guess what? The reason it's an overused term is because a lot of these motherfucking characters are girl bosses. But I've actually rarely seen it to such an egregious degree as what they did with Lady in this show. She beats Dante in every single interaction they have throughout the show. I think it's 4 different fights, and she wins them all. That is completely antithetical to Devil May Cry lore. Like he says, she swears every 3rd word. Like, the amount of times this chick says fuck or motherfucker in the show made someone with even a sailor's mouth like myself be like, pump the brakes, goddamn. Like, it is insulting, and they do it to try and make her seem cool and tough and in charge. Instead, it just makes her insufferable. How did you take one of the most celebrated female characters in the entire lineage of Devil May Cry, maybe the most celebrated? I mean, it's pretty up there between her and Trish. Frankly, I'm a Nico guy myself, but that's neither here nor there. But between Lady and Trish, the most celebrated female in the Devil May Cry mythos, and you made everyone hate her in your effort to try and show that you have a better understanding of what a strong female is. You made what might be the worst girl boss, I'm not exaggerating, that I have ever seen in me. Like when it comes to adaptations or remakes or recreations or whatever, I actually think that the adaptation of Lady here might be the single worst girl boss character I have ever seen. And yet they're wanting us to believe this show is a success. It might be a success in terms of time watched, hours watched, but to anyone that knows the lore, or frankly just has a cursory understanding of the modern American zeitgeist, you're going to look at this and think, what trash slop is it? There is no excuse for this, even if you're not a Devil May Cry fan. Yes, to using the concept of hell and demons as a metaphor for America's war on terror. They do that as well. The show literally ends with America invading hell. The demons are called refugees multiple times throughout the show. In fact, they make a lot of the demons, most of the demons, refugees, and America is just some big evil Christian country. The president, who's only in like 3 scenes, is based on George W. Bush. He's a bumbling Texas idiot, while the vice president, who is the real main antagonist of the whole show is very obviously Dick Cheney, and he is using God as a weapon, and they're making all these attacks on religion, or at least attacks on Christianity. Of course, they're not attacking any other religions, just Christianity, which, by the way, I wouldn't have an issue with if it weren't so goddamn boring, because everyone does it nowadays. It is insulting. Stop telling me to update my shit. I'm not gonna. Windows 11 can get fucked. Anyway, the point is, yes, it is infuriating, insulting, because nothing political happens. The games aren't political at all. The games are fun and funny and goofy and about this interwoven war between these two brothers and the denizens of hell. It's such a simple concept. I was actually wondering how they were going to adapt it, but then I remembered, silly me, there's already an anime from 2007 that fits in line with the games perfectly. It's actually really good. If you haven't seen the 2007 Devil May Cry anime by Studio Madhouse, fucking watch it. It's awesome. But that's neither here nor there. Yes, they use the IP of Devil May Cry as just a pulpit for spreading their propaganda. And if there's any series that wouldn't work in, it's Devil May Cry. Hell, Resident Evil is my favorite series of all time, and I can technically say there's a way to put propaganda in Resident Evil and make it fit in universe. Like, if they wanted to make Resident Evil an accurate adaptation, but still uses, like, a commentary on the pharmaceutical industry, you could do that. Why? Because even though the game does it like for fictional purposes, you can still draw the parallels because the pharmaceutical industry is an absolute nightmare, but it doesn't work in Devil May Cry when there was never a political theme to it whatsoever. And let's not even get into the fact that Shankar gave the Devil Trigger theme song as originally created for the character Nero in Devil May Cry 5, and whose lyrics are reflective of his inner struggle while accepting his Sparta lineage, to Dante, ostensibly after a thought process that went no deeper than, hey, Dante's using his Devil Trigger. Well, I'll give him the song with the name Devil Trigger. By the way, they don't even give him Devil Trigger. They give a slowed down rock ballad style cover of Devil Trigger. So even in them, I could actually forgive them giving it to Dante instead of Nero, because if you only use like the chorus of the song and whatnot, alright, it can work. Now, do I want that? No, but the show already has such an issue with not using the music from the game. You know what? I'll take what I can get. But then you even bastardize the song and the moment it's used in. You couldn't even get that right. It is insane. But yeah, no, Spence is exactly correct here. Song's called Devil Trigger. He's going in his Devil Trigger mode. Let's use the song. And it doesn't work. There's no emotional weight or stakes behind it. In other words, Shankar's Dante is more closely resembles the version seen in Bing Bang Wacky Wahoo Pizza Man memes than the flippant but dedicated defender of humanity that players actually control throughout the original video game series. And while the reasons for this discrepancy between the two versions of the Son of Sparta are likely equal parts lengthy and disappointing, it seems that at least one piece of this disastrous puzzle lies in the fact that Shankar, per his own admission, willingly sidestepped the overall spirit of the games in favor of focusing on the essence of the characters themselves. Now we're going to get into what this absolute dipshit actually said. And I know we're at the 12-minute mark and we're not even, just going to bear with me, because this is when it starts getting real good. We're going to stop talking about how bad the show is and start talking about how bad the dude that made the fucking show is. Speaking to the series production during a recent Devil May Cry-centric interview with Animation World's Victoria Davis, the series producer explained, "As a fan of the original games, I knew these characters were iconic for a reason." If you were a fan of the original games, which I press X to doubt, but if you were a fan of the original games, and you knew they were iconic for a reason, then why did you change them? You had one job: keep the characters the same, which, let's be real, is why people come back to DMC. Obviously, the gameplay as well. I mean, the gameplay is top tier. It is quite literally the best hack-and-slash series ever created. Sorry, God of War. Sit the fuck down. I love you, but Devil May Cry is the best. End of story. The fact of the matter is, he says, I wanted to explore them in the youngest versions these characters have ever seen. But you didn't even do that because Lady in the games in Devil May Cry 3 is younger than she is in this show. She's underage in Devil May Cry 3. You have her as an adult here. So you either aren't a big enough fan of the games to know that, you're outwardly lying, or you just don't care. Could be a combination of all fucking three. But at the same time, I don't want to alter them to the point where they were completely unrecognized, but they were, aside from their visual aesthetics, which, to be fair, Lady doesn't even wear one quick flashback scene for all of 5 seconds she's in her original outfit. Beyond that, she's in a goddamn mech suit the whole series for some organization called Darkcom, which doesn't even exist in the game, which was made up for this. They make her a paramilitary agent obsessed with killing demons and is racist towards them, wearing a goddamn mech suit the whole show. So yes, aside from the haircut and heterochromia, She's actually not the same design-wise at all. She doesn't even get her famous gun, AK or KA, Khalil. I don't remember what it stands for because I'm live right now and I'm just seething. But the point is, she doesn't even get that until the final episode, or maybe it's the second to last episode. She uses it for about 45 seconds, and then, so she doesn't even have her iconic weapons. Dante doesn't use ebony and ivory, but it's very established in the show. Well, it's not established. You just have to assume. He just hasn't gotten them yet. This is before he had ebony and ivory. But you know what? At least he has rebellion. He's got his main sword. Whatever. It's cool. It takes him way too long to obtain it in the show, but that's neither here nor there. But at the same time, I don't want to alter them to the point where they're completely unrecognizable. They are. The characters of these folk are unrecognizable, and in some instances, the looks are as well. So, again, either you fucked up, you're lying, or you just didn't care. I wanted to do for Dante what the Dark Knight trilogy director Christopher Nolan did for Batman. But you don't need to do that. Why do you want to do that? What purpose does that serve? Batman needed the reinvention because the previous Batman film, the one with George Clooney, Batman, not Forever, Batman and Robin, failed miserably, was lambasted. The Batman IP for cinemas was dead. It needed reinvigorated. So Nolan came in, he said, let's fix some shit. Devil May Cry isn't dead. It hasn't been dead. In fact, Devil May Cry 5 was supremely successful. Like, it's insane how much love that's getting. In fact, because of this show, the game sales are up ridiculous, like 100-fold percent numbers. And people are going through and they're playing these games and they're probably learning, holy shit, this is way fucking better than the show. Or you got people like me who, I actually started replaying Devil May Cry 4 and 5 earlier this year, late last year, well before this anime came out, just because I'm fans of these games. I replay them every so often. So yeah, he wanted to do what Nolan did for Batman, which didn't need to be done. I wanted to take this game character and drop him in the real world. I approached it as an early 2000s summer blockbuster, like The Matrix, iRobot, and Bad Boys, which had these over-the-top action sequences, but you didn't do any of that because, again, aside from The Matrix, iRobot and Bad Boys are just fun action flicks. They don't have any sort of agenda to them. You can try and make a case for iRobot, and, like, there's a flimsy one there, but you can tell Hollywood didn't care about the attempted message. The Matrix, sure, there's a message there. But even so, the message of The Matrix is an overall simple one that doesn't really take a political side one way or the other. You couldn't even do that. Also, trying to attempt it like a summer blockbuster, you didn't do that right either, because if you wanted to attempt it like a summer blockbuster, then it would just be dumb fun, which is what the games are. So, how can he be this dumb? I almost refuse to accept that someone could be this dumb. They've got to actively be trying to ruin this shit. It wasn't that much about capturing the experience of playing the games as it was capturing the characters and the essence of those characters. In light of Shankar's insight, one might be quick to lambast the creative mind behind Castlevania and Castlevania Nocturne for ultimately failing to adhere to not only his stated goal of doing right by Devil May Cry cast themselves, but also his previous claim that fidelity to the original spirit of the IP guides every creative decision. He said this: fidelity to the original spirit of the IP guides every creative decision. It should be noted that thanks to a bit of obfuscating wordplay on his end, he did follow through on both fronts. And I love that Spence is pointing this out, because technically, he didn't lie to us. He just used some very tricky words. Now, note how rather than simply saying he wanted to capture the characters as they already have been established, he sought to do justice to the actual series canon. Shankar instead dedicates himself to the spirit of the IP, the essence of the characters. Here's what he has to say. I operate under two distinct creative banners. Bootleg Universe, where I remix, reinterpret, and intentionally take bold liberties and subvert existing IPs. Adi Shankar Animation, where I play things straight, honoring the source material's core essence. Captain Laserhawk is developed under the Bootleg Universe. Contrast Devil May Cry is Adi Shankar Information. Different brands, different mentions, both intentional. No. You lying sack of shit. This is absolutely Bootleg Universe, because you in fact did remix, reinterpret, and intentionally take bold liberties to subvert existing IPs. An IP that didn't need goddamn subverted. To be fair, the vast majority of IPs nowadays don't need to be subverted because these modern Hollywood folk don't know how to correctly do subversion, but that's neither here nor there. So no, actually, you did both. You also pulled an Adi Shankar Animation, because you played things straight, honoring the series' core essence. You didn't. You think you did. You claim you did. You want people to believe you did, but you didn't. So you can interpret it as an Adi Shankar Animation, but it's not. Oh, but you did play things straight because you made it such a goddamn allegory to the War on Terror. And I get that we're all tired of like Orange Man Bad. Okay, fair enough. He didn't do Orange Man Bad. he did proto-Orange Man bad. Like, let's just, Bush, you know, warmonger Bush and Cheney. By framing his assertions in this manner, the producer allows himself enough wiggle room to say he never promised a one-to-one adaptation, thus allowing him a technical carte blanche to defend the Netflix series on the grounds that it's simply his interpretation of Devil May Cry's identity. I'm going to say something controversial, but it's true. There is no his interpretation. And I'm tired of people thinking that all art is subjective and whatnot. Certain things can only have one interpretation because that's the only one there. Like, if I was to listen to a song, and that song, no, better yet, let's Starry Night. Let's look at the Vincent van Gogh painting Starry Night. What does it depict? Depicts a fucking starry night. It's that simple. Maybe it's just a good piece of art, an interesting, well-done piece of art depicting a starry night, and what are you supposed to interpret from it? That this is a pretty and artistically inspiring depiction of a fucking starry night. If you look at Starry Night and you interpret that it's about the deep, dark desires in the heart of man to commit atrocities like rape, murder, and genocide, I'm sorry, you're wrong. You can interpret it that way, but you'd be wrong to do so. So sure, it could be his interpretation of Devil May Cry. It's an objectively incorrect interpretation of Devil May Cry. There is no other way to slice it. For those wishing just to see how big the difference between Shankar's Dante and the canon Dante Demon himself, all 8 episodes. Yeah, okay, so there's that. What a great article, and what a piece of shit Adi Shankar is. Goes to these WWE events dressed as fucking Dante, raising as we are the ones. Don't you goddamn disrespect the bloodline like that. You know nothing and or care nothing for Devil May Cry. This was nothing but an IP for you to sink your teeth into so you can get paid by Netflix, and so you can shove your God and America hating ideology into something where it had no place being. You absolute degenerate shitbag. I swear, I hope most other people finally wake up and they realize that, wow, this show was terrible. Because if you've never played the Devil May Cry games, I can almost understand why you wouldn't realize it. You would still hopefully see that the show is bad due to all the other reasons. The bad writing, the bad dialogue, the bad storytelling, frankly, the bad animation. Like, it's a video game adaptation, and there are times where the CGI looks worse than a PS2 game. How do you even fuck that up? But that's neither here nor there. People should be able to see these objectively wrong things, even if they can't tie it to the canon of DMC and why it's so bad. But these are just my opinions. Let me know yours in the comments down below, or let me know on X, where you find me at Bolt the Word. And please subscribe. I am a nerdy news channel. I cover nerdy news every day, and not always about the Netflix and anime adaptations, but anime, movies, music, Magic the Gathering, you name it. Check me out on Instagram at wordsofparadise_Leon, and become a member for $4.99 a month. You can join the Discord, choose the articles I go over on a day-to-day basis, choose the videos I react to on my Friday night live streams, and of course, get involved with over 180 other vital idols. We are a bright, beautiful, glowing, vibrant community that I cannot wait to grow even further, because we do care about diversity. But only one kind of diversity of thought. That's interesting to you. Join the Discord, hit subscribe, and until next time, it is all here in the Nerdosphere. This has been Words of Paradise.